Mom and Dad and Vicky always giving him commands. This was the second line of a children's comedy that ran on Nickelodeon for 10 seasons. A 10-year-old surrounded by people who treated him like a problem to be managed. We sang it on the way to school. We didn't think about it twice. We should have. Nothing in that sentence belongs in a comedy. Nothing in it belongs anywhere near a child. And it was the second thing the show told you in the first 15 seconds of every single episode for a decade. Once you actually hear it, yes, the show stops being a comedy. It becomes a status report. The Fairly OddParents was not a show about wish fulfillment. It was a child's psychological response to absolute emotional abandonment. Timmy didn't get fairies because he was special. He got them because nobody else was coming. Inside the universe of the show, there's a rule book for how fairies work. It's called The Rules. A big purple book Cosmo and Wanda flip through whenever the plot needs a constraint. And tucked inside it, treated as casual exposition, is the founding rule of the entire show. Fairy godparents are only assigned to children who need them most. Not lonely children, not bored, not curious, children who need them most. The need is the qualification. A kid doesn't get fairies because he wants them. He gets them because his life has reached a degree of distress severe enough that his own universe flags him for intervention. Timmy isn't the protagonist because he's interesting. He's the protagonist because the rules of his own universe identified him as broken enough to require magical surveillance. Magic in this show isn't a power, it's a diagnosis. Now look at his parents. Most cartoons keep parents in the background. Fairly OddParents made a different choice. Timmy's mom and dad aren't in the background. They're not even in the building. They don't know what their son does, where he goes, or what he needs. In the pilot episode, The Big Problem, Timmy wishes to be an adult and walks back into his own house. His parents don't recognize him. They have spent so little time looking at their actual child that they can't pick him out of a lineup of one. But the harder evidence comes later. In multiple episodes, when Timmy isn't home, Vicky covers for it by placing a basketball with a face drawn on it in Timmy's bed, dressed in his pajamas. His parents look directly at this basketball. They tuck it in. They say goodnight to it. It works. Repeatedly. A parent who can be fooled by a basketball is not a parent who looks at their child. The basketball is, to them, indistinguishable from their son. That's the entire show in a single sight gag, and then it gets worse. Timmy's parents leave him with Vicky. Knowingly, Vicky's cruelty is established in nearly every episode she appears in. She locks him in his room. She charges him for water. She threatens him with physical harm. The show's own opening narration introduces her as, quote, an evil teenage babysitter who tortures him. His parents have heard it. They've seen the aftermath. They keep paying her. This isn't a failure to notice. This is an active financial transaction. Money leaves the household every week so that a specific adult can be in the room with their child, hurting him. Vicky is cheap. Vicky is convenient. And Timmy's pain is not mathematically their problem. Now look at his teacher. Mr. Crocker has dedicated his entire adult career to one specific goal, capturing Timmy's fairies. He hunts them with detectors. He builds traps. His entire identity is built around the project of taking from a 10-year-old the only thing keeping that 10-year-old afloat. Vicky is the threat at home. The popular kids are the threat socially. The parents are the threat by absence. And Crocker is the threat in the one place that was supposed to be neutral, his school, and the threat is aimed specifically at his escape route. There is no safe room in Timmy Turner's life, and the fairies, the only thing the universe sent to compensate, are being actively hunted by an adult with a state-funded job. If a real 10-year-old described this life to you out loud, the parents who pay his abuser, the teacher hunting his coping mechanism, the babysitter who locks him in his room, you would not laugh. You would call someone. We watched a child describe exactly this for 10 seasons. We laughed. Look at what the show built around him in response. There's a recurring image in the series, repeated so often it becomes a visual motif. Timmy is asleep. His room is dark. On the nightstand in a small fishbowl, two fish swim slowly in circles. They aren't asleep. They are watching him sleep. The show returns to this image again and again. because it's the most parental thing in the entire series. Two magical creatures who could be doing anything else in the universe choose every single night to stand guard over a child whose biological parents don't notice if he's been replaced by a basketball. In Birthday Wish, Timmy's parents forget his birthday. Cosmo and Wanda are the only ones who remember. They throw him a party in his bedroom. Two fairies, a cake, and a kid who almost cries because for 1 second somebody marked the day he was born. Cosmo and Wanda are not magical creatures, not really. Functionally, they are the parents who show up. They listen when he talks. They worry when he disappears. They call each other honey and sweetie and model the kind of stable adult relationship his actual parents barely demonstrate. They are a child's blueprint of what parents should have been, rendered as people who actually exist. And the show drops this detail without ceremony. Cosmo's own mother, Mama Cosma, is a controlling, cruel, possessive nightmare. Cosmo grew up unloved too. The fairy, who is now Timmy's substitute father, had to learn how to be one. Despite being raised by the exact pattern, Timmy is trapped inside. The compassion Cosmo gives Timmy is not natural. It's chosen every day. Neglect repeats unless someone somewhere decides to stop it. Every wish Timmy makes is a wish for something neglect denied him. He wishes to be popular because no one notices him. Powerful because he's powerless. He wishes to be seen. He wishes to matter. The wishes are not silly. The wishes are the contents of a neglected child's interior life, played for laughs because the alternative would be unbearable. We weren't watching a kid have magic adventures. We were watching a kid build a god out of his own pain. And this is where it stops being about Timmy. Most kids don't get fairies, but most kids who grow up in homes that don't see them build something, a private universe, an imaginary friend, a fantasy book series read so many times the spine falls apart, a video game save file restarted 50 times because the world inside it was smaller and the people in it never disappeared. You probably had one. You might still have one. You might be watching this from inside one right now, telling yourself it's a hobby. It isn't. It's the same thing Timmy built. Yours just doesn't have wings. I had one. 3 episodes of a single sitcom, looped on a portable DVD player I kept under my bed in college. I'd put them on while doing homework, while falling asleep with the screen lit up against the wall. I had stopped paying attention to the dialogue years earlier. What I needed was the sound of voices belonging to people who came back every time I pressed play. I had built a small, quiet, repeating room because the larger one I lived in couldn't be relied on to stay the same shape from morning to night. In 2004, the show released its only feature-length movie. It's called Channel Chasers, and inside it, the show finally answers the question it had been avoiding for 4 seasons. What happens when you grow out of the magic? Wanda shows Timmy a memory. A young blonde girl in her childhood bedroom has 2 pet hamsters in a cage. Except they're not hamsters. They're her fairies in disguise. They love her. They watch her sleep. They are everything Cosmo and Wanda are to Timmy. Then she grows up. She gets a boyfriend. She walks out the door to ride away on the back of his motorcycle. The fairies stay behind. She has stopped needing them. The next shot is the same cage, same shelf, same room. 2 ordinary hamsters. They have no memory of her. The animals that watched her grow up have been replaced by animals that do not know she exists. But the movie isn't done with you yet. Later in Channel Chasers, a masked man begins chasing Timmy across the timeline. Adult, muscular, trained in armed and unarmed combat. The mask comes off. It's adult Timmy, from a future where Vicky was never stopped. He has spent his entire adult life learning to fight, hunting down the babysitter who ruined his childhood because his parents never did. He is still doing the job his parents refused to do, and then the timeline gets repaired. Adult Timmy is now a happy father. He has twin children being put to bed by a babysitter, a robotic version of Vicky. The twins look up. 2 new fairies appear, disguised as goldfish in a fishbowl on the nightstand. The fairies are not a happy ending. The fairies are a symptom, and the symptom is hereditary. So go back to the theme song. Mom and Dad and Vicky always giving him commands. This is the second line. This is what we agreed was a comedy. a child surrounded by people who treated him like a problem to be controlled, who built a parallel world to survive, who shared that world with millions of other children who recognized the shape of it without ever being told why. We sang the song, we laughed at the wishes, we never once asked why a kid would need fairies in the first place. The Fairly OddParents wasn't a comedy, it was a confession. We didn't watch this show because it was funny. We watched it because it was the first time someone told us, in language we could pretend was just a joke, that what we lived through was real. Timmy got fairies. Most of us just got the show. But if you still remember every word of that theme song, then somewhere inside you, a 10-year-old made it out, and he hasn't forgotten. Timmy invented magic. A few networks over, another cartoon kid was building something too. Not a fantasy world, not even a friend. A person, a louder, crueler, more impossible version of herself designed to hide what was actually inside her. We called her the bully. We didn't ask why she was always crying alone in her closet.